Foden versus Saka. We gotta plead your cases.
I'll take Foden.
Saka every day.
In terms of why? That's where I'm saying you're being biased. That's where I'm saying you're being biased.
I'm not biased. He legitimately is a better footballer than Foden.
Ollie, would you take him in the Arsenal squad right now over Saka?
Yes, I would.
Even though we have Odegaard.
Saka to the bench.
Even though we have Odegaard.
No, well, okay, that's a bit harsh. What I mean by that is you look at his actual footballing ability, and I actually think his link up with Odegaard would be outrageous.
Who's on the bench? Saka or Foden? Who's on the bench?
I would bench Saka, start Foden if we had Foden.
No way. No way.
As a winger, here's where I agree with both of you. I think Foden all round is a better footballer. You see the videos of him juggling and his touches and his passing. It's insane.
And he's finisher, Oscar.
Hang on. But ability is not all that goes into a footballer. I think Saka's decision making and his ability to just kind of be willing to take on a player any time of the game is more than Foden does sometimes, because sometimes Foden is more of a link up.
Oscar, here's the thing, right? I'm not playing I have not seen an England player carry the ball like Foden since Scholes. Foden is one of the best dribblers I've ever seen.
Here's the thing. Foden has moments of...
Hang on, pause. I'm not saying he's Messi, but the only people right now I can think of that mesmerize me more when they're actually dribbling with the ball is people like probably De Bruyne, Messi. Foden has this ability to carry the ball that I haven't seen since Paul Scholes in an England shirt. And Paul Scholes didn't even really have an England career. He dropped out because he had, there were mismanagement issues.
Let me ask you a question, Ollie. Oscar, before you jump in. Would you, and this is sort of a random question, but number 10 role, because I feel like that's what you were saying is Foden's best position if you're wanting him to take over.
That's where he should play.
Would you prefer him playing the number 10 than Jude Bellingham?
No, you can't take Bellingham out of that role.
So what are you saying?
Okay, here's the formation. It's not complicated. Bellingham is potentially the best ever we've produced as a country. And there's a lot of pundits who'll agree with that right now. He is similar thing that I've said about ball carrying and distribution. Bellingham has everything. Tell me one thing he doesn't have. He's got pace.
No, I yield to the Jack Wilshere argument. I think
Wilshere did not. Bellingham's already had a career.
I'm saying we have no idea he's so young and he's barely touched his career.
Yeah,
he is 19, which
he's risen. He's risen to Oscar. Just seriously, watch more of Bellingham if you're still question marks.
No, I think Bellingham is phenomenal. Right. I think he's world class.
When I make the argument of Foden, Bellingham being potentially two of some of the best ever, the only players I can think of right now who would edge it is I would put them ahead of potentially Steven Gerrard at this point. In terms of potential, Oscar, he's already got Foden. Has more honors than.
Do you feel like it's not disrespectful to players like
team
Rooney?
Honors,
players like Rooney.
Honors. So you cannot say
Beckham.
You cannot say Foden is the great because
Oscar disrespects
of his
trophies hard. Maybe that's because he grew up an Arsenal fan.
That he wins at Manchester City. Okay. That is utter crap.
Okay. Oscar, that is dynasty. If you're going to talk dynasties, right? Okay, then how does that not apply to the Manchester United of the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, right? Same thing. They were.
You just said Steven Gerrard. You just said Steven Gerrard.
No, I'm now
carried a crappy Liverpool team to win the Champions League. He did not get a participation trophy from being in the strongest team in the world.
He also never won the Premier League.
And that
because he wasn't in the.
Anyway. That's a thing that will be counted against him for every pundit will count against him, and every time Gerrard's brought up and a best midfielder all time is, well, how can he be the best Premier League midfielder if he's never won the Premier League?
Yeah, which is why I disagree. Which is why
here's what it boils down to me. Like, I take Pep's insight very seriously because I think he's now arguably one of the best managers of all time.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that.
Right. And he is very, very single-minded on grooming Foden into this role that is very apparent. And when he's 23 years old, and he's already won more honours than Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney.
Has he won any personal? What personal honours has he won?
He's had PFA Player of the Year. He won the World Cup when he was 17. He's had plenty of personal accolades. That's my point. Like, the only thing that is against him now is just time. Is basically keep doing what he's doing. And also, when you make the argument of, they're such a deep team, he is featured in all their big games. Milo just mentioned, right? He's brought on in a final. And the reality is, Pep does that with every player. There's very, very few players that actually play all 38, 39 games of the season. Haaland didn't last season. There were
all
times
big games. He played pretty much, other than
but there's a lot of games that he gets taken off at halftime, even if it's 0-0.
He gets taken off all the time. But this is Pep's, like, this is his coaching strategy. He rotates players a lot. Foden is Foden because of Pep. Like, Pep has brought him up out the academy, starting a senior player.
And you have to argue, like, with Foden, the amount of talent that you have to be able to break into a team like that.
Yes, and that's the biggest argument I have, is every other player has had, like, this hard... I was shocked, right, when I thought João Cancelo was, like, one of the best wingbacks, like, I've seen in years, like, outrageous player. But, you know, I was shocked.
Yeah, but I think there was beef that came up with him and Pep, and that's why he left. It wasn't that he didn't have talent.
Right. But
it wasn't that he didn't have talent.
And again, I don't have a dog in this game. I'm not a City fan. I just appreciate talent when I see it. And for England's sake, I have not seen a player with as...
Oscar, you got to mute yourself.
No, seriously. The raw talent that Foden has, like, it is mesmerizing to watch him. When he is, like, hitting all the check boxes in a game, he is a very...
I think it's fair. I think Foden's the best all-round footballer. I mean, maybe you could argue Harry Kane, but he doesn't have the pace that Foden has. But
Harry Kane is in arguments of who is for England.
Just
Harry Kane is above Phil Foden.
I'm not talking about output. I'm just talking about just plain and simple skill.
But that's not what I'm arguing. I think Phil Foden has very silky feet and can do magical things every now and then. Consistent. He could do magical things for you watching his games.
Oscar, you need to watch him more.
But on terms of consistently, which is why I would take Saka, in terms of a consistent output, making things actually happen into reality, Saka ahead of Foden every day of the week. Kane, a mile ahead of both of them.
That's the other problem, is you're looking at Arteta's system, and yeah, I will agree that Saka is a bit more suited.
Arteta's system's based on Pep's.
No, we have
different,
much
but
more
there's
dynamic
similarities. I agree.
Pep's wingers are not as pacey as Martinelli and Saka. It's a very different front three dynamic. Arteta almost just doesn't play with a striker in our formation.
It's more so like that. Our front line's similar to Liverpool's, like, in their peak. I feel like.
I agree.
Salah and Mane breaking down the wing.
Well, with like Firmino in the middle.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. We play more, but anyway, we'll wrap this up. It's getting
the back line more like Pep, but yeah. Anyways,
but I stand by it. I would take Foden in our team over Saka.
Disagree.
I think that's a great debate, and hopefully, Foden is the center of Man City's team for the next like years to come, and then Saka's the middle of Arsenal, and hopefully, that's the new like City Liverpool kind of title race that we get into.
Look,
and everyone else kind of falls away.
Prove me wrong. If Foden becomes this absolute world destroyer for England, I would love it. That would be great.
That's where I blame Southgate. That's where I blame Southgate.
Southgate sucks.
Southgate is...
Yeah, but it's the same thing with Ben White and so many other players. I don't know why he starts Rashford still so much in his starting 11. I would put Sterling over Rashford at this point. And
Sterling's not even...
He just throws teams. out of the window.
Ultimately, we should have won the Euros. We should have beat France. France had so many injuries. I think that's more of, you can't blame someone like Foden or.
Well, the penalty shootout against Italy in the Euros was 100% down to Gareth Southgate.
And
100%.
you think about France, if France had a player like Benzema in their squad, we would have gotten rinsed.
I know. That's why we should have won that game. The fact that we only just missed out on penalties, the fact we weren't scoring from open play, that was a very poorly managed game.
Yeah. Well, what was supposed to be a short podcast turned into our longest podcast yet.
Yeah.
But
because we were arguing about Foden.
Yeah, we had
Ollie,
great talking points.
Ollie, do you feel like you've got a weight off your chest? Ollie almost made us chop up our last podcast into tiny little pieces because he wasn't exactly happy with how we worded what he said. Do you feel?
I'm all about accurate representation, and when you say I flatly said Foden is the best player of all time, I'm like, that's not what I said.
I didn't say that. I said you said that Foden and Jude. I said Foden and Jude Bellingham.
You started the last podcast by saying Oliver said that Foden is the best player ever to put on an England shirt. Like, that's not what I said, but it's fine.
We digress.
It's all good.
I said one of the two. Yeah. Anyway,
do
you feel? So you feel like you've gotten that off your chest? You feel good?
I feel like Ollie's defended himself.
Yeah. So we'll have to rile him up again to
get him on the podcast again. Here's the question: what do we have to say to Jude to get him on here?
I feel we've exposed all the gaps in your argument, Oscar, because I don't feel you've ever. I don't think you've given me anything concrete to respond.
I'm pretty sure we decided. Milo, did you say Saka over Foden?
In our list?
No, right now in the Arsenal starting 11, would you take Foden over Saka?
In our starting 11, the way our setup plays, I would take Saka over Foden.
Yeah, we both agree. Saka over
but
Foden,
if it was Sissy's system, I'd probably take Foden. So I think it just depends on systems.
That's where you isolate the players, and I'll take Foden. But you're right. When you take into consideration formation and the players around him.
Isolate the players. Saka was higher on Milo's list than Foden was. So
as a winger.
Isolate the players.
As a winger, yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
But as a number 10, obviously Foden would be above Saka.
Well, Saka's not a number 10 , so it's not a fair comparison.
That's my point. That's why we're talking all-around ability, because Foden's played in both many times.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you to everyone that listened. It's been probably my favorite podcast yet, so it's been a good time. We'll be back next week with the kind of Premier League review. Hopefully we have a good weekend at Burnley. Yep. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
By the way, hang on. I am an Arsenal fan. We didn't establish that.
He sounds like he's a City fan.
No,
yeah, you kind of do.
I like Harry Kane. Ollie likes Phil Foden, but
this is stupid.
Guys, I did a
likes Mohamed Salah.
I did a perfect outro, and you guys ruined it.
Yeah.
Try again. Stay breezy.
No. Anyways, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye. Peace out.